The major shift really is from a client-based user interface, meaning a user interface that resided on your laptop or on your desktop, to a web-based user interface. That's been happening for past several years now, maybe more than 10 years, 15 years. It's taken a foothold everywhere you go, where you want a, as we call it in IT lingo, non-fat client or a light client, which uses web browser as a primary user interface. The technologies that allow you to make that happen, a lot of them are open source. Browsers are open source. A lot of the frameworks that you use to develop browser-based user interfaces are open source. JavaScript, for example, HTML-based web pages, all of these technologies are open source, and the proliferation of these type of libraries, if you will, or frameworks, if you will, have exploded the use of browser as a primary user interface. I'm very passionate about agile software development methodologies and overall DevOps. The motto that I have in my office is we want to shift left in the software development life cycle. What I'm passionate about and what I'm most excited about is what we're developing, and we call that an automated deployment pipeline. What it allows us to do, or what it allows our development teams to do, is take software that's being targeted for building a product and allow that software to be automatically deployed into a specific environment without manual intervention. Cybersecurity is an incredibly challenging area at this point. The challenge really is, how do you stay ahead of the curve? Because most of the time, it's not the matter of if this will happen, it's a matter of when this will happen. The battle is incredibly intense, in my opinion. In order to stay ahead of it, you just have to make sure that you're always looking at the weakest link. Generally, your people are the weakest link. Legacy system modernization is a difficult task. It's not easy, not in government, not in private sector. When I worked in private sector, we went through a similar transformation at a large bank in New York City. It was not easy, but what I learned from it was taking small bites and making sure that the small bites that you're taking out of a legacy system are successfully transformed into the new systems or the next generation system is very useful, because that allows you to do a little bit of a piecemeal approach, which is not always possible. I understand that. But trying to get little pieces of features or functions out of the legacy system is generally the right way to do it. You also need the business users to be on board with this approach, because not every single business can use two systems at the same time, or not every business will allow or will be happy with a integrated environment where certain things are in the next generation systems and a lot of the things are running on the legacy system. Tying those two together can become an incredible challenge. There's a huge comfort factor in this, because users of technology who use legacy systems are very reluctant. Not all of them, but many of them are very reluctant to move away because it's change, and change is not very comfortable. So the example I want to use is when we go out in the market for a new piece of entertainment thing, let's say television, we don't go with the mindset that I'm going to buy a 17-inch CRT, which truly doesn't have, any HDMI ports. We don't do that. We go in the market thinking, I want a flat screen, OLED, 4K, 70-inch, not 17, but 70-inch, ultra high definition with multiple HDMI ports. We're comfortable with that change. We need to take that same approach when we look at a legacy systems transformation into next generation systems. We have to be open to the fact that it's not going to look like the old system. It's not going to behave like the old system. We use open source extensively. We welcome it with open arms. We have an enterprise governance board that reviews open source technology and approves them for use within PTO. There has to be a checkpoint somewhere. You cannot just go out and say, I'm going to use this library or that framework without really considering all the implications of using an open source product. We also make sure that our security team is involved prior to deciding which open source technology. For that matter, even a commercial off-the-shelf product, we engage our cybersecurity team to ensure that there are no vulnerabilities in that product. So we don't treat COTS, GOTS, or open source differently from cybersecurity perspective, but we want to make sure that open source products are not picked willy-nilly by the development team. Rather, they go through some review of why you want to use it. And if there is one that's already been picked, why not use that one? So there's a little bit of dialogue that happens before using one. So I think it's incredibly important that users are leading the design of the user interface that they are going to use. Many times you will run into challenges because not everybody can agree on everything, but you have to draw a line to say, here's how the majority is thinking and this is how the user interface is going to look and behave. Because if you do that test or that exercise after the user interface is developed and deployed in production, you already have spent a lot of time, effort, and money developing a product that the users are unwilling to use or may not like. The shift left mantra also applies to the users. The sooner you get users engaged and get their help in designing the user interface, the better off you are. The second area I think is going to be very exciting for everyone is artificial intelligence. Everyone's talking about it. We are talking about it. We want to start looking at artificial intelligence in many different areas. In my area especially, we want to start using AI, if possible, in cybersecurity, in software quality assurance, building bots to reduce and remove manual intervention in the processes is going to be incredibly beneficial for all of us. In my mind, the greatest challenge is the speed at which the technology is changing. We can't keep up with it. The number of new things that are coming out every year are very large. So making sure that you are on the right path, doing a constant check and evaluating where your organization is and where the technology trends are going is going to be very necessary going forward. You can't do a 5-year technology refresh cycle anymore. You have to look at refresh on a constant basis. Is my organization on the right track? Am I falling behind, or did I take the wrong fork in the road last year or last quarter is going to be important as well. The other thing is making sure that, the cliche, change is constant, is so true. Making sure that change is constant becomes a part of your organization so that your people are comfortable with the constant change is another challenge. It's not easy when you force change on people. Nobody likes change forced on them, including us.